relief efforts for Iran earthquake victims. Canada nears the deadline for Quebec separation. And the spotted owl ruling goes against loggers. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rattle reporting. Good evening. Iran today appeals for international help to dig out from one of its worst natural disasters of the century. Latest estimates are that yesterday's earthquake left 36,000 killed, 100,000 injured, 400,000 homeless in northern Iran. Bill McLaughlin in London begins our coverage.
Thousands of bodies were being dug out of the rubble in northern Iran today, but suddenly the workers clawing through the shattered village find someone alive, a farmer who survived 36 hours buried beneath his flattened home. He's pulled from the ruins, but his wife and child, trapped with him, are dead, and it's feared thousands more remain buried across the devastated Caspian region. More than 100 aftershocks shook the stricken area today, causing more landslides, more damage. 400,000 people are homeless, scattered across the countryside. But Iranian officials are trying to show they're in control of the disaster. President Rafsanjani flew to the scene today for an inspection tour. The Iranian Air Force has set up an air bridge, flying the injured to hospitals in Tehran. And Iranian television showed scientists in the area monitoring the latest tremors. At the traditional Friday prayers, religious leaders said Iran had been sent a divine test.
The divine test for Iran was the ability of Iranians to withstand natural catastrophe and see that as an affirmation, a reaffirmation indeed, of their faith in the Islamic Republic.
Iran acknowledged today it needs outside help, lots of it. British and French rescue teams were among the first. But Iran later said it doesn't need rescue workers. It has plenty of its own. What it wants is medicine, tents, blankets, heavy earth-moving machinery. And in what could be a major break with Iran's recent, often violently anti-American past, Tehran signaled Washington today that it would accept help from the U.S.
For the most part, the United States government, knowing the American people, really put aside politics in situations like this, tends not to involve politics too much in these circumstances.
The Iranians stressed that aid should be funneled through private channels. Even so, it's the first time the religious leaders have conceded some good might come from the great Satan. Bill McLaughlin, CBS News, London.
We have more medicines to put on than we
U.S. relief organizations geared up to rush aid to Iran's earthquake victims today, backed by thousands of American donors who set aside their differences with the Iranian government over hostages.
I think people just want to help. They want to respond. I think this is something very ingrained in the United States.
Deposit your donation to the bank account.
In Southern California, the nation's largest Iranian immigrant community organized its own relief effort. Cash and medicine poured in, grief and worry transcending feelings toward the current regime.
Right now, it's not a matter of the government, not a matter of supporting anybody or anything. We just try to help our people.
In Washington, concern for the quake victims surfaced at a rally of an Iranian resistance group. Speakers applauded U.S. aid to the victims if it can be kept out of government hands.
Even in this tragedy for which we grieve, we cannot trust the regime in Iran.
In fact, U.S. relief efforts will likely be channeled through the Red Cross to its affiliate in Iran. A former hostage of Iranian-backed extremists in Lebanon thinks there should be some strings attached.
And I think before we give any aid to Iran, that they should immediately release all the hostages being held in Lebanon.
But others think that would be counterproductive.
And so for the United States to be too overt in tying aid to a political agenda, I think would just strengthen those in Iran who say the United States only wants to manipulate us.
Meanwhile, as the death toll rose in Iran, Muslims in Los Angeles gathered for prayer and an offering. Forgetting politics to huddle, said one speaker, as members of the human family. David Dell, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The clock is ticking tonight in the Canadian crisis. Tomorrow midnight is the deadline for approval of a constitutional amendment needed to keep Quebec in Canada. All 10 Canadian provinces must approve this measure. Eric Ingberg has our report.
A day of cliff-hanging political maneuvers aimed at ending a constitutional crisis left Canada's attention riveted on Quebec, seat of French nationalist and separatist sentiment. The question across this tense country, would Quebec and its predominantly French-speaking people accept a federal plan to extend the deadline to enact protections of French language rights? Federal leaders in Ottawa sought more time in a desperation move to keep the language deal, 3 years in the making, alive as the clock ran out. Faced with a filibuster by Indian tribes bearing old grievances, one provincial legislature went home without voting. That should have killed the language deal, which needed acceptance by all provinces. But the government of Prime Minister Brian Mulroney then trotted out a plan to set aside the deadline through a Supreme Court decree.
I should make clear that we are not talking about beginning all over again and setting in motion a new 3-year clock with all the problems that entails.
The government said it would push for an extended deadline only if the language measure cleared the legislature in the other holdout province, Newfoundland. That put the pressure on the small Atlantic island. Its leaders, angry at federal strong-arm tactics, were talking about walking away with no vote.
I would rather have no right to vote at all than to be told you have a right to vote, but you can't exercise it on the basis of your judgment and conscience. You can only do it in a manner that meets with the approval of somebody else.
No one could say tonight what Newfoundland would do or how Quebec would react. But one French-language newspaper here today had a headline that carried ominous implications for the future of Canadian unity. It said simply, today or never. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Montreal.
West Germany's parliament gave final approval today to the economic merger with East Germany, set to take effect in 10 days. And in Berlin, another well-known obstacle to German unification heading for the scrap heap. Tom Fenton reports.
The winners and losers of World War II said goodbye today to the small building that symbolized another war, the Cold War. As Checkpoint Charlie was hoisted away, the Soviets proposed that all foreign troops leave the city of Berlin 6 months after Germany is reunited. Checkpoint Charlie no longer serves a purpose now that the Cold War is over.
We meet here today to dismantle it and to bury the conflict that created it.
Having closed the chapter in history, the delegations crossed into East Berlin to begin writing another in their continuing talks on the future of a united Germany.
For almost 3 decades, this was the place where you felt most keenly the conflict between East and West. When you crossed the line at Checkpoint Charlie, you passed from one world into another, a world in which only foreigners were free to come and go.
It was here that American tanks forced the Soviets to back down in 1961 when they tried to limit the right of U.S. soldiers to enter East Berlin. When the wall went up that year, streets were cut, families and friends were torn apart, an entire nation was divided. Now it's all tumbling down, the wall, the watchtowers, the whole system. Today, with the street open to all, the life of the city surged through the newly connected artery. An organ grinder cranked out an old Berlin tune as Checkpoint Charlie was hauled away. The song asked, "Do I really have to leave this town?" Berliners, East and West, were glad to see it go. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Berlin.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service made a long-awaited decision today, a hard choice, pitting the environmental threat to the lives of thousands of owls against the threat to the livelihoods of thousands of loggers in the Pacific Northwest. Jerry Bowen reports today's decision and its effect on owls, humans, and habitats.
Effective late next month, the northern spotted owl will come under federal protection, listed as threatened because it seems headed toward extinction.
The biological evidence says that the northern spotted owl is in trouble. We will not, and by law cannot, ignore that evidence.
In practical terms, the decision may add 3 million more acres of owl habitat, old-growth forest in the Northwest, to the 5 million already being put off limits to logging, a patchwork collection of centuries-old trees larger in area than the state of New Jersey. Even some of this year's logging will have to stop to save the estimated 6,000 to 10,000 remaining owls. If the owls and the old-growth forests are the winners in all this, then the mill towns of the Northwest, places like tiny Morton, Washington, are the losers. Lost jobs, lifestyles, lost dreams. In Morton and Mossy Rock and Randall, it's the rumble of the logging trucks that set the rhythm of life. The buzz of the bandsaws at the local mills that, for generations, has signaled all's well.
Most people here, at least the people I'm working with, that they haven't done anything else.
On Main Street at the Cody Cafe, none of it makes much sense.
Trying to put the earth back like it was when we got here, and you can't do it. There are too many people.
Yeah, I can see the point. We don't want to cut it all. But what are you going to do for toilet paper? All this stuff if they stop all the logs.
In bumper stickers and on billboards, the timber towns have railed against the owl and the outsiders they believe are taking the forest from them.
I know that it's taking my dad's job away and all my friends' dad's job away.
But industry analysts contend that overcutting and log exports to foreign mills have already jeopardized jobs. Today's owl decision may cost another 28,000 jobs over the next 10 years, crippling local economies. In Morton, 9 out of every $10 comes from timber.
It's going to be instant depression around here for the next 5 to 10 years.
Or will it be depression delayed? Morton may be able to buy some time thanks to glassnotes, timber imports from Siberia.
I'm hoping that we can have some logs arriving here in July. And that would mean we would be starting to process some wood from the Soviet Union in August.
But the war is far from over. Already, environmental groups have petitioned to have other rare animals placed on the endangered list. A weasel-like creature called the fisher and another bird, the marbled murrelet. Both may require even greater expanses of old-growth forest for survival than the spotted owl.
It's the ecosystem that's at stake. We'll do whatever it takes to save ancient forests.
And people in the timber towns are wondering what they can do to save themselves. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Morton, Washington.
Still to come on the CBS Evening News, Leslie Stahl on the emerging politics of the savings and loan scandal, and Susan Spencer on hot, hard words and medical politics at the AIDS conference.
High nutrition cereals. Totally nutritious and usually totally dull. Unless it's Kellogg's Just Right. 100% nutrition with whole grain oats plus 3 other grains instead of just one. Just Right. 100% nutrition with raisins, almonds, dates. If your high nutrition cereal leaves you totally flat, just taste Just Right. 100% nutritious, 100% delicious.
The Volvo 240 does a fine job of surviving accidents. But the Subaru Legacy with 4-wheel drive and anti-lock brakes reminds you the best way to survive an accident is not to get into one.
I used pressure-treated lumber, and I still have $800 in water damage. How come?
Even treated wood needs Thompson's Water Seal protection.
This patio was supposed to last for years. Now I have $1,200 in damage. Why?
Your concrete wasn't protected with Thompson's Water Seal. Thompson's penetrates into wood, brick, or concrete to form a barrier water can't get past, even when driven by 98-mile-per-hour winds.
Let it rain. This time I use Thompson's, a great defense against repair expense.
Thompson's, the first name in lasting protection.
Heard why I call my Polidens the Big Clean? It fights stench or odor in a big way. You betcha. With a mini mouthwash ingredient. But Polidens bigger than that. It also does a big job on stains and ugly tartar. Trust the big mouth. Get super strength Polidens, the Big Clean.
More charges and countercharges today over the deregulation, mismanagement, and flat-out corruption in the savings and loan industry. Much of it aimed at avoiding blame in this election year. President Bush tried to stop talk today that he, for one thing, has done next to nothing about punishing those who ruined and robbed the S&Ls and left taxpayers stuck with a $500 billion bailout. Leslie Stahl reports.
The S&L mess got a little messier today and a lot more political. Stung by accusations from the Democrats that his administration's been dragging its feet on S&L prosecutions, the president gathered the nation's U.S. attorneys around him and called for new task forces, new FBI agents, and an additional $25 million to fight S&L fraud.
We will not rest until the chiefs and the chiselers and the charlatans spend a large chunk of their lives behind the bars of a federal prison.
But the Democrats stung again, more biting than ever.
The president told us that he was going to, today, he said he's going to set up a 27-city task force. On December 7th, the headline of the Department of Justice release, Thornburg announces 27-city attack. The president told us today that he was going to hire 202 FBI agents. On December 7th, Attorney General Thornburg said on page 4 of his release a total of 202 FBI agents. We're being told one thing, and reality is something very different indeed.
Only 150 convictions, 21,000 cases, referrals, sitting on someone's desk because there's no manpower to deal with them.
The main thrust of our efforts, I think, are yielding results, and the impression that's being given that nothing is happening, that cases aren't being made, that indictments aren't being returned is just not true.
Still, the charges flew back and forth, the president accusing Congress of delaying last year's request for funds, the Democrats accusing him of refusing to spend money already authorized. SNL investigators in the field complain they've been denied resources to do the job.
I doubt if there's any district, maybe other than Dallas, that has all the FBI agents they need right now.
We're going to find that there's a lot of cronyism in all of this in the late 1980s, and we got to get on top of that, and it seems to me the Justice Department has the responsibility to do that. We're asking, why aren't you?
The Bush administration denies any suggestion that cases are not being pursued vigorously because Republican fat cats are involved. The SNL issue is top priority here now. Already worried about the president's son's involvement, the White House is using all the ammunition it has to blast off any charge that comes its way. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, the White House.
Former Maryland real estate agent Marilyn Harrell was sentenced today to almost 4 years in prison for stealing millions of dollars in federal housing program money. Harrell got the nickname Robin Hood after saying she donated some of the HUD money she stole to the poor. Prosecutors said she kept most of the millions and even bought herself a swimming pool. Besides a prison term, Harrell was ordered today to make $600,000 in restitution. So far, higher-ups have successfully avoided prosecution. Stay here with us now for more news, including Aaron Hayes on a children's game gone big time, getting the jump on summer.
From the cafes of Paris comes the inspiration for a different kind of mustard. Grey Poupon Parisian. Created especially for sandwiches, its distinctive flavor gives even the simplest foods a sophisticated accent.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon Parisian? But of course.
Grey Poupon Parisian mustard, another of life's finer pleasures.
Chevrolet introduces the bigger-than-ever four-door Chevy S10 Blazer. Now America's best-loved sport utility vehicle gives you 25% more cargo room and 100% more doors. The bigger-than-ever, better-than-ever 1991 four-door S10 Blazer. Open one and see why nobody's winning life.
Heartbeat of America. Thanks, Chevrolet.
If your American Express traveler's checks are lost or stolen, just phone and your refund can be delivered virtually anywhere. Take only American Express traveler's checks. Don't leave home without them.
Crosswords and croissants in Sunday breakfast at our house, complemented by the rich, fresh flavor of Sunsweet pitted prunes. Sunsweet, an 8-letter word that means delicious. Only one prune tastes Sunsweet.
A National Cancer Institute scientist today said large-scale testing of an AIDS vaccine could begin in 2 years, with a vaccine perhaps widely available by the middle of this decade. That encouraging prognosis came at the 6th International AIDS Conference in San Francisco. Meanwhile, there was a fierce attack on a study showing promising results from tests of an experimental drug. CBS News medical correspondent Susan Spencer reports.
The turbulent issues of the rights of people with AIDS and how to test new drugs moved from outside the conference to inside today, as the leader of the community group Project Inform announced incomplete but what he called dramatic results from a highly toxic experimental drug, Compound Q, made from the root of the Chinese cucumber. 46 patients on it have shown improvements in their immune systems, according to Project Inform.
I don't find our operation unethical. I find it extremely compassionate. I applaud the physicians who have been part of it. If it's threatening to others, that's their problem.
The group is now working with the FDA, but that didn't stop doctors from attacking.
Mr. Delaney, you really are irresponsible in making such statements without publishing your data.
Delaney said AIDS patients are angry with him for not promoting Compound Q even more.
I'm under a whole lot of pressure from patients who have used this drug and felt they've had truly dramatic responses. Not everyone, but some of them surely have, and they're angry that we're not promoting this.
We frankly don't know.
That's what I said.
You don't know, and we don't know whether what you've said is just another example of a flash in the pan or whether it's something great.
One person on Compound Q showed up with what's considered the least reliable evidence, personal testimony.
I think Project Inform has saved my life, and I think Compound Q has turned it around.
Medical files are littered with unorthodox AIDS drugs that didn't work out. But that's clearly not always the overriding consideration when organized medicine has produced no sure answers either. Susan Spencer, CBS News, San Francisco.
Nelson Mandela went to the United Nations today to thank the world body for its efforts against apartheid in South Africa. Mandela called the system of white minority domination a, quote, indelible blight on human history.
It will forever remain an accusation and a challenge to all men and women of conscience that it took as long as it has before all of us stood up to say, enough is enough.
Mandela again today underscored his solidarity with what he calls other liberation movements, including the Palestine Liberation Organization. Under some close questioning here in the U.S., Mandela has stuck by his support for the PLO's Yasser Arafat, as well as Cuba's Fidel Castro and Libya's Muammar Gaddafi. Mandela saying, and I quote, "Our attitude is based solely on the fact that they fully support the anti-apartheid struggle," unquote. U.S. officials said today they do not expect this to be a major issue when Mandela meets next week with President Bush. The Commerce Department today reported a stronger than expected 3.9% increase for so-called durable goods in May. A surge in demand for automobiles and airplanes spurred the increase in orders for products designed to last at least 3 years. Analysts took the report as an indication the sluggish manufacturing sector may be picking up.
We baked pearls made of denture material in this blueberry pie to prove how powerfully Efferdent, America's leading denture cleanser, removes this tough stain, even in between. Efferdent, stronger than stains.
I guess I just didn't realize how my indigestion, you know, that burning feeling, affected me and everyone around me, even my kids. So I decided to ask my doctor if I needed a prescription. He said, prescription? You don't need a prescription. You just need Mylanta. Mylanta. I figure if it's the one doctors recommend most, I'll give it a try. And you know, it worked. Fast. My doctor was right. He said I didn't need a prescription. My doctor said Mylanta.
This business may seem easy, but try doing this with minor arthritis pain. For years I took aspirin, but now there's Advil. It gives me hours of relief, yet it's gentler to my stomach than aspirin. Advil. Advanced medicine for pain.
What a relief. The doctor said no surgery for my hemorrhoids.
That's great.
Yeah, they're not that serious. He said use Preparation H.
You can often relieve pain and itch for hours and help shrink swelling of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissues with Preparation H, ointment or suppositories.
I've always counted on my Ziploc freezer bags, and now they have these new ride-on labels so you know just what you've got and when you put it away. The only problem is, does anybody know how to spell zucchini?
Put your trust in a Ziploc bag.
We're going to show you now what may be the most energetic way yet devised to just say no to drugs. It's based on a simple principle. Give youngsters enough rope, and they'll skip it. Aaron Hayes reports.
Summertime on a college campus is usually slow and lazy, fairly quiet. But this week at Wake Forest University, things have really been popping.
1, 2, 3, 4.
This is the practice site for the World Championship Double Dutch Tournament. Double Dutch. 2 ropes, 3 or 4 kids, strong legs and arms, and timing.
Try. Never say you can't do nothing, because it's always a way.
Double Dutch became competitive when a New York City cop saw kids playing it in the street and liked the fact that it occupied their time and their energy and their minds. He gave it rules and made it an official sport. It is now a serious game for tough kids, willing to spend all their free time inside the ropes.
You got to bend your back. You got to bend into the rope. You got to make it happen.
It has evolved, too, into more than sport. Coaches say Double Dutch forges street smarts and strength into a positive force for these kids. They now promote learning the ropes as a way to clear the hurdles of inner city life.
I live in a bad neighborhood where a lot of drugs go on and stuff. And Double Dutch, when I go to practice, I just stay away from all of that.
How can you do drugs and get into a rope and just jump at that speed? There's no way you would pass out.
Up to 400 steps a minute, ropes going at 200 miles an hour. You can't see them at your feet. Kids watch the turner's hands and listen for the sound of the ropes. Everything must be in sync. These children have learned the meaning of concentration, and they like what they've learned.
You learn how to trust in yourself and to be confident in yourself. And you learn what you can do and what you can't do. And what you can't do, you learn to work better at it so that you can do it.
Do it in world competition, each year with more kids from more places, cities and suburbs and farms, discovering the secret of Double Dutch. You get from it what you give to it. Erin Hayes, CBS News, Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
And that's the news from our world tonight, so we're going to skip out of here. Bob Schieffer will be here tomorrow. Don't forget, Sunday morning with Charles Corral, 60 Minutes with Mike Wallace, Ed Bradley and company. Dan Rather for the CBS Evening News. I'll see you Monday.
It's how steak is done.
Guess why I call my Polident the Big Clean.
Does a big job on denture stains.
Right. But Polident's bigger than that. It fights denture odor in a big way. But Polident's bigger. It fights stains, odor, and tartar. Trust the big mouth. Give Polident the Big Clean.
How do orange juice, tomato juice, and grapefruit juice measure up to prune juice? You get more of 7 important vitamins and minerals in a glass of great-tasting Sunsweet prune juice. Sunsweet. Here's to your health.
A lot of cars reach 60,000 miles, but only 3 have done it in just 19 days. And every one was a Subaru. The durable, reliable 4-wheel drive Subaru Legacy. At an average speed of 138 miles an hour, the Legacy hasn't just proven itself. It's taken less time to do it than any other car in the world.
Factory-to-dealer cash incentives on selected models to qualifying dealers means you could save hundreds on the Subaru.
Saturday, the Cardinals face Andre Dawson and the Cubs, or Will Clark leads the Giants against the Astros. This summer, it's baseball on CBS.